right, so welcome everyone. It's, what is today? Thursday, September 8th. Felt like a good day. 2022, it felt like a good day to come together and explore this inquiry of our most important resource at this time. So I want to, obviously, if you've had some experience with me, I like to take us into an experience and not just answer this question from a headspace, but really explore together. So I want to just say a few things to just set up some context. In that, as you all are aware, we're in some very interesting times. I would say, for many people, very challenging times. Lots of transition on the planet. Lots of uncertainty, lots of accelerated change. And from my observation in my own life and my friends and my family and my students and clients, there seems to be a theme of really being confronted, in these aspects of meeting ourselves where we have the most discomfort, where we're the most challenged, where we have our most core habits and patterns and reactions, where we go into defense rather than opening our hearts so immediately, right? And I think in the bigger picture, there is something being served up, something being cooked up by this innate intelligence. And I think it's important in these times that we have a frame, a way of contextualizing what's happening. Otherwise, it can just feel like complete madness and chaos, and like the prime conductor of the symphony walked off the stage and, everybody's just banging and clashing around. So much of my interest is in providing spaces and platforms for people to drop deeper, to drop below that sort of chaotic cacophony of really more where our nervous systems are in a kind of habitual reactivity to our environment externally as well as internally, and giving us a space where we can start to listen and feel and allow more of who we are and our greater capacity to meet our moment. So some of you were with me last week or maybe last month in the Imprint to Blueprint 4-day experience, where we went in more depth around this process of some of our early imprints and how that shapes and informs the development of who we take ourselves to be, our capacities for relationship, our capacities for self-actualization, to really bring through who we came here to be and express. And we also explored some of our innate design, the design of that original blueprint of how Creator intended for us to embody, and sort of the miracle of our origins. And so a lot of what we were exploring was that interface, how to navigate our moment with both an awareness to that original blueprint as well as becoming more intimate or conscious with our particular imprinting. So today what I'd like to do is just take an hour here and drop us into really more of the core, the pith, the core of the core of this invitation, and what, I call core embodiment, what this is really inviting us to. So I think before I start to just take us into a journey with this, I would love to hear from you when I bring this inquiry of, what is your greatest resource? I'm just curious, what comes to mind? What comes to heart? What's your experience thus far in your life? And maybe you could just write in the chat, what's your greatest resource? What's your go-to, internal, external, doesn't matter. Love to just see how, as a community, kind of the various, sacred mirrors that we are, from our lens, from our view. What's it like? What's it like for you? When you're really stretched and challenged. So Shakira says the inner practice, the benedictions, the breath. Yes, yes. Emma says my dog, doodling, pulling weeds. Great. Yeah, there's no wrong answer. Greg says turning towards myself to acknowledge, validate, be accountable to, and appreciate all feelings and aspects of myself with empathy and compassion. Beautiful. Yes. Richard, stopping and redirecting attention back to itself, the body, sensations, and feelings. Beautiful. Yes. These are all wonderful resources. Thank you. Anyone else? I see some of you. Walking in nature, Deborah says. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Huxley, consciously noticing the space in which his experience is arising while pendulating to sensations and thoughts. Beautiful, yes. Jody, trust in myself, my strength to be alive, and value my path. Beautiful, yes, yes. Huxley says this. Yes. Shakira, the whales sounding through water. Yes, absolutely. So many wonderful resources. And, some of you may have experience or background with a body of work called somatic experiencing, where they speak a lot to resourcing, various ways of allowing attention to make contact with various sensations or objects of attention that can provide a ground of safety where then we have more capacity to maybe touch in with old traumas or more challenging sensations, this sort of thing. Stefan, breath, resilience, belief in my connection with Creator. Beautiful. So let's just let everything you all shared, all true, all wonderful resources. And no one yet mentioned where I would like to take us today. And so that's great. I was kind of hoping that no one would. Okay, so I think I'd like to just start to take us into an experience. And, I think many of you are, you're deep divers, you're mature beings, you've been on the path. What I'm going to share isn't foreign to you, but sometimes naming it in this way and bringing our attention together in this way, there's a way we potentize, we bring more potency to this intelligence that's actually already always here. So in many traditions, what I notice, a lot of awareness traditions, let's say, the Tibetans, the Dzogchen teachings, the Advaita Vedanta teachings, the non-dual teachings, that are pointing to this essential awareness that is aware. this capacity within us to be conscious of our sentience, of all that it is to be here, to be alive. Some traditions, some teachings, that is sort of the end point, right? The Tibetans would refer to becoming so conscious that as we fall asleep at night, we're aware of what exhale or in-breath we fell asleep on. And upon rising, which in-breath or out-breath did our rising occur upon. That level of intimacy or conscious awareness of how we're inhabiting our moment. And that's a beautiful thing where, let's say, some state or some phase of the journey, it's as if we have merged or we have blended or we have become one again with the ocean of consciousness. And we are aware that I am a wave within that ocean, that I am being moved by or informed by this greater intelligence that has me and that informs my breath, my thoughts, my being, my desires, my longings, my needs, right? That there's this deeper backdrop. So I want to just take a moment and let's explore this consciously. We don't have to go into some deep meditative state of isolation or rarefied, quality. Just sitting here in our seat with our eyes open. Notice in this moment how your awareness is aware of that you are embodied, the weight of your body, the shape of your body sitting in your seat right now. Maybe just take a moment, notice the shape that your hands are making, the position they're in. Notice this kind of 360-degree quality, how your awareness is aware right now of the space of your back body and your front body. In some way, your awareness is aware of what the space beneath you. And the space above you. Your awareness is naturally aware of the space to your right and to your left. And so as I name these areas, you notice perhaps that your breath starts to naturally be the attention, be the informing attention, exploring these spaces. So we have this 360-degree awareness in a way from the center of our bodies out in all directions. Doesn't really require effort. It's just we notice that this is part of the nature of awareness. We can notice right now that our awareness is aware of the room that you're in. On some level, the sense of the walls, the space that you're occupying. And again, your breath might in some way expand a bit to palpate, to explore the shape, this larger shape of the space you're in. So breath follows attention. And I'm just simply inviting your attention to explore these various spaces. So a little bit further out, we're aware of the field beyond our room, beyond our home, the space of nature outside of our walls. You may notice in this moment the sounds of, in my case where I'm seated, the sounds of the birds. some awareness of the trees, the green ones, that you are exchanging oxygen and carbon in this profound breath of life, symbiotic exchange. On some level, your awareness is always aware of this. And as we expand out a bit further, we are aware of this larger field of other beings, of community, our families, people we know, people we don't know. This larger global awareness of all of the ones that occupy this space we call planet Earth. On some level, we are aware and we are impacted and impacting all of those ones who breathe and feel and have hearts like we do. And out even wider, our awareness is aware of the stars, the planets, the sun, the moon, these larger spheres of influence, this infinite space or holding ground that we are influencing or affecting and is also impacting, influencing us. And all of the beings, right? All of the beings of the natural world, the whales, the dolphins, the swimming ones, the four-legged ones, the two-legged ones, the creepy crawlies, all of these infinite miracles of creation that we share this home with. So we can simply rest as awareness. Some wisdom teachings speak to this, right? That is the sole purpose of awakening as a human being, is to rest as this awareness that is aware. Now, I spent many years myself exploring in these ways. And ultimately, I didn't find that was completely fulfilling or addressed my humanity. I didn't fully meet the experience of being a vital, alive, messy, holy, unknowable, knowable, intimate experience called a me. So I want to take us a little bit deeper now. And an analogy is like we could be just cruising, resting, like lying on our backs in the ocean and just floating in the waves. You know, being a wave carried by that larger ocean. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, some of us might be kind of revolutionary, taboo, risk takers who want to go a bit deeper, and we want to explore, what is giving rise to this oceanic tide? What is the origin of these movements? What is the origin of my breath? What is the origin that beats my heart? What is the dimension of my being that is deathless and birthless? That is the continuum of what I am. And so there's a location, actually, that when we are seated in this location, we become a target, we become available for a direct experience. So let's take a moment And close the eyes. And if you would, bring your hand to your heart. And bring your other hand to your hara. And just start to drop in, receiving your touch. Just literally feeling your body, receiving your touch. Letting the breath open a bit more, receiving your warmth. And also feeling that proprioceptive quality on the palms of the hands that is also receiving the textures of the breath moving through your chest, your belly. And see if you can allow all of those little antennas, those little bioantennas that are out, little extensions of your nervous system, tracking the environment for friend and foe and making sure it's safe. See if you can allow all of that to soften inward. Letting your touch provide a quality of contact that it's safe right now to relax inward. And notice how the earth is rising up. There's this deep mountain of presence beneath you, supporting your body right now. That you are held, supported. And let's just gently, tenderly begin to lean in, relax in towards the space of your heart. So, as if you could breathe in from the center of your heart and exhale from the center of your heart. Just take a few breaths like that. And let's bring a little sounding vibration into the space of our chest, our lungs, our rib cage, our heart, to bring a little more activation, a little more quality of feeling ourselves here. So let's bring this sound of a deep vibrational, deep E, and feeling that E sound coming down from the lips, the throat, all the way down into your chest, into your heart. And before we do that, we're going to start to wake up that tissue by just letting the tongue start to explore a little bit in the palate. So just gently massaging with the tip of the tongue in the roof of the mouth. And then allow the tongue to explore around the teeth, just making little slow micro clock circles in both directions around the teeth with the tongue. And so you notice you generate a little bit of some saliva. So at some point, when you've got some saliva in your mouth, go ahead and swallow consciously and feel that saliva moving down the throat and into your chest. And then just taking a deep breath as you feel that movement down into the chest. Let's do that one more time. Just allowing the tongue to move around the teeth. And massaging the palate. And when you have some saliva, again, just consciously swallowing. And allowing that journey down the throat to just bring you sweetly into the heart. It's a little bit of a sneaky, somatic back door into the heart. Allowing that soft tissue in the throat, back of the tongue, to wake up a bit. And now we'll just bring this deep vibratory E, lateralizing those tissues, expanding those tissues down into your heart. So something like this, a nice deep breath. And a few more times, just completely staying with your vibration, your touch, your attention, traveling down into the heart. So exploring a little bit more with your own lung capacity, your own pacing, timing. And you might notice that the eyes gently lift towards the crown, kind of an internal stretch, while the sound stretches down from your lips, your throat, your mouth, down the chest, into the heart, while you feel a slight stretching up into the crown with your eyes, just exploring that natural opening of this internal pathway. remembering that the sound is an audible exhale, and so you're allowing an increase of your in-breath. Really let that in-breath come in, deeper, fuller in-breaths, starting to really fill up into your belly, your root, your diaphragm, your rib cage, heart, neck, throat, center of the head. A couple more times. Great, and let's just allow the sound to come to a pause. And just returning to your breath, nice, deep, full in-breath, filling up, inviting more breath, more vitality, more life force, fully in from your root to your belly, navel, diaphragm, heart, throat, head. And exhaling, softening, yielding into gravity, letting go of any excess tension. So on your next in-breath, let's just explore a little bit of some breath retention. So take a nice, deep, deep, full in-breath, as full as you can, breathing up from the earth. Fill the belly, fill the diaphragm, fill the lungs, draw the breath all the way up to the center of the head. And when you get to the top of that in-breath, let the shoulders drop, squeeze your root, pull the breath all the way in and up like you're zipping the midline. Let the tongue come to your palate, let your eyes lift up and hold the breath, retain the breath, squeeze everything in and be with you on the inside. And exhaling as you need to, and just completely letting go. Allowing a moment for your system to settle and integrate any releasing or unwinding. And we're going to do that one more time. Nice, deep, full breath, drawing the breath up from the earth through your root, drawing the breath up, up, up through your entire core. The top of that in-breath, bring your tongue to your palate, squeeze your root, let your shoulders drop, your chin tucks, your eyes lift, tongue to the palate, and retain the breath. Be with you on the inside, and this time notice your heartbeat. Be with your heartbeat. And exhaling as you need to. All right, beautiful. So just letting the breath return to natural inflow. And exhaling and staying here in your seat. And see if you can allow yourself to rest more fully in the pulsing of your heart. You might want to just gently allow the jaw to be slightly open, unhinged. And taking a few natural full breaths, inviting yourself to explore just relaxing a little bit more, opening a little bit more into this seat, this primary seat of your heart. Receiving you right here in the center of your chest. This intimate receptivity of just you, your presence. And as you allow yourself, as if you're quite literally sitting down in this most comfortable, innately designed seat for you. Notice how you can receive your body from here. So in other words, be the locus of your receiving attention from your heart, simply allowing sensations, weight, temperatures, the shape of your body. And from your heart, you can also simply notice, allow the movements of your mind. Thoughts arising, dissolving. So from your heart, allowing the experience of your body-mind. Allowing this to be very intimate. It's not an exercise in a sort of dry laboratory experiment. We are heart alchemists, and we are exploring in this most intimate inner laboratory through feeling. Feeling is the prime substance, prime ingredient. So with love in our hearts, with tenderness, with kindness, welcoming, allowing this experience that I am a unique one that came from the blessing of my mother, my father, my lineage. At this time, this location, to land here, to be me. This particular bag of water and bones, these wrinkles and smiles and these tones of my voice, these fears and insecurities, these particular griefs and grievances. Let's just continue deepening this intimacy of welcoming your particular flavors, this union, this inner tantra of these, what we call body and mind. just like your awareness is aware of all of these fields of nature, your heart is most intimately aware of your human experience. So from our hearts, if you like, bringing your touch, if you left your belly, and just bringing a little more attention there again with your touch. And let's just take a few more breaths, welcoming whatever we're seated in today, particular flavors of our humanity, places we may be meeting anger, frustration, rage, or flavors of doubt, insecurity, places we may feel shame or qualities of inflammation. From your heart, from your love, from your kindness, you have this capacity. You have this greatest resource. So long as you are in a body and your heart is beating, you have this capacity to choose to literally seat your attention in your heart first. And from here, become more allowing, more full, more vital, more alive with all that it is to be here, to be human, all the feelings. Our hearts were designed to open, to feel, to have this human experience. We came here for this. So a few more breaths, intimately exploring in your own space. If there's any parts of you right now that you've been rejecting or judging or pushing aside or disowning, from your heart saying, come here. Yeah, I want you too. I want this part of me too. And you might just add the words, loving me. Loving me. It's so taboo in spiritual circles to have a me. So if you want to be a real renegade and take a real edgy risk here, you might, for a moment, try it on. Loving me. Loving this one. With my warts and wrinkles and flabby bits and painful places and unresolvable paradoxes and self-hatred and all of this hot, holy mess. Loving me. My beauty, my strength. As much as I'm able to in this moment is perfect. And relaxing any tension or any gripping at my suggestions, just letting this be as natural as possible. And you might start to notice that your heartbeat, your breath, and the pulsations in your hara and your belly. You may start to notice a gentle coherency, a way that there's a synchronizing of these pulsations deeper below the surface waves of the mind or emotion. So take a few moments and a few breaths, and whatever level that pathway is revealing itself to you between your two hands. I invite you to consider that this here in the core of your belly, your heart, is your greatest resource. For it is the fundamental space of consciousness that naturally unites or connects you with the same fundamental consciousness in all sentient life. This is the space where we become privy to the great intimacy of being here, being embodied, and all at once being connected to this larger wholeness we call life. So you can let your hands relax, and whatever degree of connection we've each sort of fostered internally, just see if you can continue to allow that without effort. It's like you're just continuing to hang out in your easy chair. And notice how, as we gently open the eyes, it's as if we are receiving life from our central core access, from our hearts, perceiving from our hearts, hearing from our core, receiving the sounds from deep inside. Now, where the rubber really hits the road, with this being our greatest resource in life, let's imagine that we are in a particularly challenging life moment. And what we are experiencing, we have a big fuck no. I don't want this. I don't want to feel this. Get me out of here. Anybody ever had that experience? Right? So these are the moments where we habitually leave, dissociate, numb out, do a drama trauma, right? Indulge it, dramatize it, shake our fists, stomp our feet, reject ourselves, reject another, whatever our version, right? Go numb out, go check out, take some intoxicant, whatever our version, right? So this practice of staying seated in this primary tangible location of being human, being me, being that which beats my heart, breathes my lungs, receives my experience. That is the space inside where our greatest vitality, potency, aliveness, it's actually very interested in turning towards these excruciatingly challenging moments. And our world, our environment, the news is pretty constant these days in bringing up painful, scary, deeply uncomfortable, deeply disturbing realities. So our global, our collective reality, as well as our personal and interpersonal realities. I don't know about you, but I've certainly noticed this is accelerated. So really at the core of my invitation and what is the practice of core embodiment is that many of us have been simply surviving, been in survival mode, our nervous systems running the show, in fight, flight, meeting our moment, assessing friend or foe, friend or foe, friend or foe, run or attack, or, freeze, collapse, shut down, disappear. Those are our habituated habits of survival. So part of the situation right now is that the challenging circumstances generally invoke or provoke our nervous system survival levels. So it's a great and wonderful and, it's an opportunity right now to discover and learn and become good stewards of how to meet our moment more and more and more with this turning towards from our hearts first. And what I mean by heart is fundamentally our core space. When we are seated in our hearts, this is inclusive of our hara, our gut brain. It's also inclusive of our higher brain centers, our central core axis. That's what I'm referring to. It's where we can receive our moment intimately. And then these challenging sensations and experiences become a marvel. Our heart literally is in the wonder, the awe, the marvel of, oh, wow, look what I get to feel and being human. And we get to know ourselves more intimately. So, as I was saying, if you are a person who grew up in Western culture, most likely you have a more strongly cultivated head center. For us as Westerners, what we learned, what we entrained with, and what we're praised for is knowledge, knowing things, book learning, having data, facts, science. As Western people, we are yet to fully acknowledge or embody the power of our hara and our hearts. Some of the Eastern traditions and cultures are more naturally more seated in the hara, for example, like in Japan or places that practice martial arts. So, I invite you to come fully back to the circle. If you're still somewhere with your eyes closed, I invite you to really come be here, eyes open, in your seat, and practice a little bit as we complete the call, maintaining some internal felt sense of connection as you're listening and as you're here in the group. And I just invite you to inquire, what would it be like to live my life from this true seat? Being me, receiving me intimately, rather than just being bounced around, thrown around on the surface of the waves of my nervous system, my habits, my reactions. I'm not proposing that's going to go away, but we can develop and cultivate like a foreground background shift where I'm seated in my heart, my core first. The space that can allow my nervous system, that can embrace my nervous system, that can embrace my habits. From my nervous system, I'm not capable of embracing. If that makes sense. Our design is that our hearts literally are designed to be the holding ground, to be the space in which our nervous systems feel safe to settle, to harmonize. And our nervous systems are beautiful. They're designed for sure to locate ourselves where we are in time and space, and to respond intelligently to our moment. They're very much connected to a beautiful egoic sense of, this is this mouth and whose teeth I'm brushing. This is, I'm the one crossing the street. I'm the one driving the car. All of these facilities and functions. But we want this inner union, this inner kind of heros, right, of this inner kind of tantric union of the breath of our love, including these more primal, primitive functionings. So I'm curious, after we just went through this little exploration, all that everyone shared, in my perception, everything everyone shared earlier, in a way, it's your heart's perception that's allowing you, consciously or not, to lean into these various resources everyone spoke to. It's almost like it's the invisible prime conductor behind the scenes. It's that still, small, quiet voice. And it's easy to get caught up in the louder noise of the radio stations of our nervous system and our habits. So our practice, I think, in these times is to foster a deeper bond, a deeper cultivation with that still small voice of our hearts. That is our true nature. That is fundamentally connected to our moment. It's where we are. So one of the necessary components to this practice is we have to live our lives at the pace of presence. Right? Our nervous systems have us multitasking, choosing too much, choosing inappropriately, feeling overwhelmed. So the pace of presence, maintaining a quality of connection to our inner being. Very different pacing and rhythm. So I wanted to share this today. I know some of you were in the 4-day experience last week, and even if you weren't, I wanted to just really land that this is the core of of my offering is practices in which we cultivate this central access so that it's not just a concept, it's a lived reality, and it's a resource, our greatest resource, that we can perceive our moment from. So, as you know, I have an upcoming 6-month container where we will go in great in-depth exploration of cultivating the core embodiment practice, where we specifically cultivate the hara, specific sounds for landing us deep in our pelvic bowl, our sexual organs, our root, our womb, our hara, and specific sounds that bring us into our hearts, specific sounds and movements that bring us into the center of the brain. And ultimately, we experience a full coherency throughout the entire core channel. And we go in very intimately with the particular intelligences of these centers, our power, our wisdom, our love, the particular kind of superpowers of how we perceive from these spaces, experience life from these spaces, as well as engage ourselves, bring ourselves, communicate. So if this is something you're interested in going and exploring with me, I welcome you to reach out. This takes place by application because I really want to field who's coming and make sure we've got a beautifully curated group of beings. So fill out the application if you're interested. I'll follow up with that. And we can have a private call. We can talk about it, answer any questions you have. Of course, if you're interested in other pieces of my offerings, you're welcome to reach out about that. I'm particularly excited about this new offering because it's really the synthesis of my entire life's journey and bodies of work I've studied and brought together. And I feel really passionate about people having this in their tool set in terms of navigating these times. So any questions I can answer anyone for now on the chat. Shakira says, my core is bubbling up. My tender heart is so grateful for this deeper intimacy in my true seat. This practice is essential in my life, and I thank you for this loving warm embrace. Blessings to you and all your sweet seats of love. Bless you, Ajaya. Look forward to the apprenticeship with you. So much love and aloha. Thank you, Shakira. Did everyone have a taste of an experience here today in what I was inviting us into? I can take a moment if anyone wants to speak up. And you may be deeply in your own bliss right now. Don't feel to speak, that's fine. All right, I think I'm going to just trust everyone is in a sweet spot, and thank you so much for joining me today and allowing this group field and this opportunity to explore these transformational intimacy practices. So grateful for your receptivity. And again, if you're interested in exploring the apprenticeship, let me just briefly write the URL in the chat so you can take that with you. Okay. So it's just core with one E, core embodiment with one E.com/original blueprint foundation. If you go to this page, you'll see more about the nature of the modules and a little more detail on what we go into and the overall context. You do not have to be a service professional. I speak to that in there, and that often folks who work with me are therapists or coaches or in some way providing or holding space for others. You could take the course just for your own personal development. It's not necessary for you to be a quote service provider. So I just want to name that. And again, we start on October 1st. And so it's coming up, and I would love it if you could follow up soon if you are interested. And thank you so much for your attention. Really, really appreciate that there's interest and resonance in these pathways. Thank you, Huxley. You are so welcome. Yes, may we all live more and more consciously and easily from our seat of love. Yes, may we. So let's just allow today our practice, the blessing of receiving ourselves more fully, just feeling that as a rippling wave of blessing going out in all directions. May this be a benediction, this time we spent together. May it be a benediction to all of life. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering and the root of suffering. And I thank you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for you. And I hope to see you in the next, whatever that is. Aloha.